Alright, Masechet Megillah, Daf Yud Tet. We're starting from Daf Yud Ches base on the bottom. Haytek Tuba Besam. If you wrote the Megillah with a Sam, says the Gemara, the Mishnah said that if you wrote it in Sam, or Sikra, or Kulkum, or Kankantom, it's puzzle. What are each and every one of these things? Says the Mishnah. Sam, Sama. Sam means Sama. Okay? What is Sikra? Sikra Shma. Sikra Shma. Sikra really means Sikrasa. So these are all different kinds of things we use in order to write different kinds of pens, you can say. Just so the ink itself is not kosher. It needs to be dafka, black ink, we'll see later on. Kumus, kuma. First of all, Sikra is a red color. Sama, I don't know what color Sama is, I believe it's yellow. But Sikrasa is red, so the color red is not kosher as well. Kumus, so the Mishnah is kuma. Kuma there's a liquid part to the tree. It's called saraf. It's all over Shas. That part you cannot use that to write the Magilla with. Okay, next amud kankantoim is chalta de ush kafe. It's something that we use it to clean shoes with, to make the shoes black, and that is also not kosher. It's called chalta de ush kafe. Diftera. What is diftera, guys? Says the Gemara. Demiach ukmiach v'loy apitz. So it's a kind of skin that we use, and it was used with water, and it's not kosher. So some kind of color we can get off skin, and it's also not kosher. Niyar. What is niyar? Machka. Some kind of plant that we cannot use this plant to write the Megillah on either. Ad shetek ksuba ashuris. The Megillah has to be written down in Lashon Ashuris. Ashuris Rashi previously in the masechet says Lashon HaKodesh. Says the Gemara, what's the source? Says that the writing has to be done like the way it's usually written. The way it was written usually was in Lashon HaKodesh. Ala sefer ubidio. Where do we see that it needs to be written down with ink? Minola. Answers the Gemara, Asio ksivo ksivo. Ksiv hochet, it says here, we have Xer HaShabbat, it says here in the Megillah, V'echtov Esther HaMalka. Uktiv hasom over there, V'yomer lehem baruch mipiv yikra ilay et kol הדברים האלה. ואני כותב על הספר בדיו. So you see that the Megillah needs to be written down with dio, which is black ink. So Allah, it's a Xer HaSakasov. We have a Xer HaShabbat, Ksiva Ksiva. We learn from the book of Yirmiyahu that it needs to be written down, every sefer needs to be written down davka with dio, which is ink. Says the Mishnah. Ben ir shalach lekrach. So first of all, guys, what is a krach and what is an ir? A krach is a walled city. We read on the 15th in the walled cities. What is a ben ir? A ben ir is somebody who lives in an open city. So a krach reads on the 15th and ir reads on the 14th. Ben ir shalach lekrach. Ben krach shalach leir. So the 15th guy who lives usually in a walled city goes to an open city. Guy lives in the open city goes to the walled city. Says the Mishnah. If he's going to go back to his original place, then he's going to only have to read like his place. He's not going to have to be bound to the place where he's reading. For example, you have this also custom nowadays, a lot of guys do this, where people who live in Jerusalem, which is a walled city, so it's on the 15th, they go to Tel Aviv, they go to other places that are open cities. So they want to go to Tel Aviv to celebrate Purim on the 14th. The question is, when they go to Tel Aviv, do they need to also keep all the Purim halachas of Tel Aviv, of the 14th? So they have to read the Megillah also then, they have to do the Mishloach Mana, also Matanos Levyonim, right? Is that relevant or not? So the Mishnah says, only if he's going to go back to his place, when you go to Tel Aviv, if you have in mind you're going to go back to Jerusalem, then it's fine. But if you're not going to go, if you go to Tel Aviv and you don't have intention to go back to Jerusalem, you just want to stay in Tel Aviv the whole Purim, you have to follow the restrictions of Tel Aviv, which is the 14th. The Gemara will explain more about this later on. Okay, let's continue. Where do you have to start reading the Megillah in order to be Yotzei? Yes, we read the entire Megillah, it's 10 chapters. We read all 10 chapters, maybe from the 4th chapter, from the 5th chapter, from the 5th chapter. Says the Gemara. Rabbeir says the whole Megillah, that's halacha, guys. Today we read the Megillah from A to Z, all 10 chapters. Rabbi Yehuda Omer mi-ish Yehudi. Rabbi Yossi Omer me'achar hadvarim ha'ele. So we have different shitas from where the Megillah, where do you have to start reading the Megillah in order to be Yotzei? Amar Rove, lo yishon ela she'atid lachzor b'leil Yudaled, אבל אינו ציד לחזור בלילה 14 קורא עמהן. So says Rava, the whole mission that says if you're going to go back to your to the walled city, then you're not bound to the rules of the open city. It says Rava is only if you're going to go back Beleile Yudaled. Meaning, for example, guys, if I right now go to Tel Aviv, today is Yudal, and I go to Tel Aviv, and I go there at nighttime. Only, says Rava, if I'm going to go back, leave Tel Aviv at nighttime before Alos HaShachar, before the morning, if I had intention to go and come back to Jerusalem before the morning, then I'm not bound to Tel Aviv's rules. But if I go to Tel Aviv and I have intentions to stay there till the morning and then leave, then even though I had intentions to leave, since I slept there, Kiviyachol, since I slept there, I was there the night, I am bound to the rules of Tel Aviv. All right. Omar Rovin, where do I get this from? Because Rava has, it's a big chiddush. Where do we see that the night is the kovea? The Mishnah has no mention of this. The Mishnah just says if you're going to go back to your city, you're good. Where does Rava come up with this chiddush? Where's the source in the Torah? Omar Rovin, yichtiv al kena Yehudim haprazim hayoshvim be'orei haprozos. So it says the word parazim twice. Why does it say the word parazim twice? Mirdi ktiv hayehudim haprozim. Lama li michtav hayoshvim be'orei haprozos. Says the Gemara, the paruz ben yoimoy nikro paruz. To teach you, to emphasize that a guy who's in Paruz, what does Paruz mean? Paruz means a wall, an open city. A guy who lives in an open city, even a little bit, right? Just for the day, he's already halachically considered a person who lives in an open city. So he's going to read the Megillah on the 14th. So, yes, guys, so again, doing a chazara. Why do we say that if you're there at nighttime, then you're not considered, but if you stay there till the morning, you are considered a person from the 14th? Because in the verse, it says the word puzzles twice to emphasize that even if you were there a little bit, and Rava is saying a little bit means that they're overnight, you just were there overnight, that's already enough of a reason to consider you a paruz and you read the 14th. Ask the Gemara, wait, how do we know about anybody who's in a mukaf in a walled city? How do we know that if somebody went from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem and spent time in Jerusalem in Tet Vav, that he is also, if he slept there at nighttime, he is chayav in all the halachas of a walled city? So the Gemara svaro, the pose ben yomei korib pose, mukaf ben yomei korib mukaf. To svara, it makes sense, logic. What would there be a difference? Omar Ove, ben kfar shalach le'ir. What's a ben kfar, guys? Ben kfar is a villager. Villagers, if you guys remember in the beginning of the masechet, we learned that villagers read on Mondays and Thursdays and do Yud Aleph and Yud Beis or Yud Gimel. They're not bound to the Yud Aleph and Tet Vav like we learned about a krach and an ear. So says the Rav, a villager, ben kfar, shalach le'ir, he went to a city. Ben kach uben kach korei mahem, he has to read on the 14th. My time, why? Because one would think, no, he doesn't need to. He does his 11, 12, and that's it, he doesn't read on the 14th. My time, היי כבני העיר בו למקרה ורבונון הוא דאכילו על הכפורים כדי שיאספנו מים ומוזן לחים שבקרחים. So this is again, I'm going to have to explain. The whole reason why kfar, villagers read earlier isn't because there's a halacha that a villager reads earlier. It's that the rabbis, Anchinas Agdola, made a takana and said that villagers, even though they're supposed to read on the 14th, they can read earlier, right? When they are busy helping out their brothers, right? So when they're helping out their brothers with food and water, with learning Davav, that's when we can read earlier. But this whole heter, this whole kula that we do is only when they're isa beduchte, when they're in their place, when they've read the Magilla already in Yud Aleph and Yud Beis, and now they're helping out their brothers. But once he's in the city, mamish, and he's not following his usual village ways, he has to read like a city person. Okay. This proof is that villagers actually never have to follow the city. Anyways, he has to read like his place. So what do we see from here? That a villager is not bound to the city. Even if he stops and takes a visit at the city, he doesn't have to follow the city's rules. He can just do what he did, read on Yud Aleph and Yud Beis, and that's it. Says the Gemara, wait, ben krach. Sorry, I read it wrong again. Ben krach shalach la'ir. a guy who's from a walled city. A krach is I misread instead of villager, instead of a walled city, I said villager. A walled city guy who goes to the city, which is from a guy who lives in a 15, a walled city, goes to an open city. He has to read like his place, right? What is his place? 15. Ask him more. Wait, ben krach sakadach. That the Bryce makes no sense. We saw in the Mishnah that it's all about whether he's going to go back to his city or not going to go back to his city. Why do we say that? The amount of shach, it's always on the 15th. It depends. Is he going to be there overnight or not? Elanav. So the correct girsa is what my mistake initially is actually the maskana ben kfar. The Mishnah when it says ben the Bryce that says ben krach is actually talking about a ben kfar, a villager. A villager goes to an open city. He always reads like on his villager times. What are the villagers' times? 11 and 12. So what do we see from the Brisa, guys? We see from the Brisa that you do not need to read on the 14th as a villager. You can read on your time. So that contradicts Rava. Rava is saying that a villager that goes to a city, he always has to follow the city's rules no matter what. We see the opposite from the Brisa. After our Girsa, after we fix the Girsa. Says the Gemara, wait. But after Uzi Kamatatzis, how do you anyways change the Brisa and switch from Karach to village? Tni Koyre change the Girsa and may as well change the Girsa and add that no, he doesn't. It's not that he always reads with his villager times, and he follows the times of the city. So basically, we disprove the Brisa. We said the Brisa is messed up Brisa, so you can't prove from it one way or another. All right. From where do we start reading the Megillah? Tanya Rab Shimon ben Yochai Omer. The Rashi says, from that night, okay, which is much later on in the Megillah. I believe it's chapter 6 or 7. So we see the Rashbi has his own opinion. Right? Mamash only a few chapters and that's it. Megillah reading according to the Rashbi should be around 10 minutes. That's all. Everybody has the same source. It says in the Megillah, the tokef is like the story, the intensity of the story. So whose story? It says the story. Whose story? There's a lot of characters in the Megillah. We have Mordechai, we have Esther, we have Achashverosh, we have Haman. So that's the machlokas. Because it says that the Megillah, Esther wrote on the Megillah for the Jews to read from the start of the Tokef, where the intensity starts, where the main part starts. Who's considered the main part? Is it Esther? So that's what we're going to see. Whoever says that we read the Megillah from A to Z is because we start reading from the Tokef of Achashverosh. That starts in the beginning of the Megillah, from chapter 1. Whoever says we read from the Ish Yehudi, Tokef Shel Mordechai. תוקפו של המן, that's talking about Haman. Uman demami balarahu, that's the Rashbi, tokfo shel nes. When the miracle started, so it's when Achashverosh read out the Igeret and saw that Mordechai did a miracle, the Okay, so that's one opinion to interpret the machlokas, why each person has their own opinion. Rahuna has a different source. Umara'u al kacha, umayigyarehim. So how do we explain this verse? Mando markula. When we say, according to the opinion that says you read the whole Megillah from A to Z, he says like this. The verse, this is how he explains the verse. Let's again, read the verse again. That's what we read about. So, so he explains. What does it mean, mara'a? Achashverosh. Achashverosh for using the kelim of the Beis Hamikdash. We know historically that Achashverosh used all the kelim, all the utensils of the Beis Hamikdash. He used the Kohen Gadol's clothing. He used all the kelim. So why did he do this? Because of kacha. What is kacha? Because he counted 70 years, and he saw that 70 years passed and nothing happened to the Jews. God promised after 70 years he would redeem the Jews, nothing happened. That's why he did not care to use the kelim. He wasn't scared of God. He said God has forgotten about the Jews. That he killed Vashti. That was the outcome of doing this, taking the kelim. So what do we see, guys? That means that the Megillah is about Achashverosh using the kelim. So we got to start reading from the beginning. Whoever says we read the Megillah from Ish Yehudi, from Mordechai. So this is how he reads it. What does Mara'a mean? Mordechai, the kind of Haman that he was teasing Haman. Al kocho, because of kacha. What does kacha mean? Says the Gemara. The shovi nafshi avodah zara, because he made himself avodah zara. Who did? Haman. What was the outcome of this? The Yisrael we had a miracle done to us. Whoever says that we start reading from Achavat Varim, which is basically about Haman. Why is Haman the point of the story? Because Mara'a, what does Mara'a mean? Haman. That he wanted to kill all the Jews. Al Kacha, what does Kacha mean? Mishum Mordechai lo yichav leishtach, because Mordechai won't bow down. What happened to what was the outcome, the result to this? We hung, him and his kids were hung on the tree. So now how does he explain this verse? That's about the miracle. So look, this is how it fits in the pasuk. What does mara'a mean? Why did he bring the book of memories, which inside it says that Mordechai saved him? What does kacha mean? Because Esther invited Haman to a meal. So Achashverosh was worried, why is Esther inviting this random dude over to my party? Imagine you're married, you have a wife, and your wife is obsessed with this dude to come and eat with you guys at the meal. That's a little awkward, right? Why was she doing this? And what happened as an outcome to this entire situation? The Isochi Shmi said that a miracle happened. So we've just run all the sources for all the different Tanaim, why each Tana has his opinion to when we start reading the Megillah. Says the Gemara. Allah is like Rameir. We read the Megillah from A to Z. Even according to the opinion that says you start reading from Ish Yehudi or whatever, any other one of the opinions, we still need that the Megillah itself be written from A to Z. Even though we start reading from, let's say, chapter 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, we still require the Megillah to be written whole, from A to Z. Okay? Wonderful. Megillah nikret sefer v'nikret igeret. Megillah is called both a sefer and an igeres. Now we'll see the nafkamina here right now. Nikret sefer. Why is it called a sefer? She'im tfara bechutei pishtan psula. Because if you tie it with pishtan, if you tie the sefer with pishtan, it's puzzle. Just like a Sefer Torah is puzzle when you tie it with Pishtan, same thing, when you tie the Megillah with Pishtan, one would have thought that it's kosher. Even though a Sefer Torah is puzzle, one would have thought that a Megillah is kosher. So the Chiddush is that it's called a Sefer to teach you, just like a Sefer Torah is puzzle, so too this is puzzle. V'nikris Igeret. Why is it called an Igeret? An Igeret is less than a Sefer. It's just whatever, a note. Why is it called a note? If you put 3 gids, 3 chutim, 3 pieces of a gid in English is the muscle tissue of the animal. We use them. The old days were used to connect the cloth, the deer skin together when we wrote the Megillah. If you use 3 gidim, it's kosher. Okay. So that's why in one place it's called sefer and in one place it's called an igeret. Even though in other areas that's not good enough for the Megillah, it is kosher. Okay. Even though we have this kula where we can do it with 3 chuts of muscle tissue, and that's enough, they have to be mishulashim, they have to be the exact same measurement. You can't do one big, one medium, and one small. All have to be the same size. If a guy reads the Megillah, Haksuva ben aksuvim lo yotza. What guys? What does it mean? Haksuva ben aksuvim. It means if you have the Megillah, like a Sefer Torah. So there's a bunch of parshas, and one of the parshas happens to be about the Megillah. It's puzzle. You need to make a book that's all about the Megillah. Okay. Omar Rove lo yamorim. This whole halacha is only said in the case elo delo mechasro umiatro purto. Avo mechasro umiatro purto leislan bo. Only the Megillah's paper itself was the same size as all the other papers. But if it was smaller or bigger than the other papers, so imagine you're opening a Sefer Torah, right? And you see the papers in the Megillah are smaller or bigger than the other ones, and there's a Pirsumei Nisa. There's respect shown to the Megillah because it's unique. And then it's kosher. Levi Bar Shmuel had a kokori k'mei de Rav Yehuda b'Megillah. He read the Megillah in front of Rav Yehuda. Haksuba ben aksuvim. He used it this way. We didn't we learn that you cannot do this? How are you reading the Megillah and Haksuba ben Aksuvim? That they hit the halacha on the head and they said that this whole halacha isn't a halacha Moshe Sinai that you cannot read the Megillah Haksuba ben Aksuvim. It's a rabbinical decree. The rabbinical decree is only in public, but in private you're allowed to do it. That's why Levi read the Megillah in front of Rav Yehuda. He didn't care to read Haksuba ben Aksuvim. Since Haksuba ben Aksuvim is only not allowed to be done where? Betzibur. But biyachid it's allowed. Shiur hatefer halacha leMoshe miSinai. Yeah, so we connect when we tofer is to sew. When we sew the Sefer Torah to make them one, the different cloths, right? And we leave a little bit on the bottom open. This halacha that we do, it's halacha leMoshe miSinai, the connection. So the Gemara said, we hit the halacha on the head, like it's not true. It's not halacha leMoshe miSinai. Really, midoraisa, you can do whatever you want. Rabbinically, we leave a little bit of it open, right? Because in the Magilla, we don't just tie it all the way from A to Z. We leave a little bit of openings on the top and on the bottom. Why do we do such a thing? Not that it's halacha leMoshe miSinai. It's because if you have it all sewed from A to Z, people won't be careful. They'll just play with it strong. That's why we leave always a little bit open. That way people are aware that it's easily tearable, so people are more delicate. That's why the shiur hatefer. Shiur hatefer means the amount that we don't sew. We sew the Sefer Torah, all the cloths. The amount we leave open at the top is intentional. That way people are more careful. So guys, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but Moshe Rabbeinu and Eliyahu Hanavi almost saw God. The thing is that they stood inside a cave, and the cave was covered. Says the Gemara, if the cave even had a smallest amount of an opening where they could see God through that opening, they would have both died, both Moshe Rabbeinu and Eliyahu Hanavi. It says in the verse, "Ki lo yirini ha'adam b'chai." What does it mean that God showed that God showed Moshe Rabbeinu everything? What does everything mean? He showed Moshe Rabbeinu dikdukei Torah. What is dikdukei Torah, guys? Extra words here, extra words there. The Torah is not stuff, wasn't man made, it's God made. Moshe Rabbeinu wrote the Torah, but he wrote it from God's opinion, from what God said him to write. Yes? Read the Haggadah of the Ramban on the Chumash and Bereshis. You can see exactly in detail what exactly took place at Har Sinai. Bottom line, so the Dikdukei Torah were shown to Moshe Rabbeinu, and the Dikdukei Seifrim. What are the Dikdukei Seifrim? In the Mishnah, we have lots of extra words here, extra words there. He learned even in the oral Torah all the extra words, what they're referring to. And he even saw what the Sofrim are the Nevi'im, what they're going to be Mechadesh. And what is that? That's Mikra Megillah. So we see that even Mikra Megillah was shown to Moshe Rabbeinu at Har Sinai. Says the Mishnah, everybody can read the Megillah. Anybody you want. Outside of who? A Cheresh, which is a deaf person. A Shoite, which is a crazy person. And a Kotan, which is a little kid. Rabbi Yehuda says a Kotan is kosher. Says the Gemara, Man tane cheresh di avad amiloi. Who's the author of the Mishnah? The Mishnah says that a guy who's deaf cannot read the Megillah even b'diavad me'yotzei. Who's this author? Amar Rav Matna Rabbi Yossi. The author of the Mishnah is Rabbi Yossi. Guys, be very, very, very concentrated on the Shach of the Torah right now. It's very confusing, and hopefully towards the end I'm gonna summarize, make sure everything's clear. But it's very confusing right now. Really be very focused on every line. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Matna Rabbi Yossi. The author of the Mishnah is Rabbi Yossi. The Tnan. HaKoires Shema v'lo hishmiya le'ozno yatsa. If a guy reads Kriyat Shema, he does not hear himself reading the Kriyat Shema. He reads it quietly, right? He's not Yotzei. Sorry, he's Yotzei. Yotzei b'di'avad. Okay. HaKoires Shema v'lo hishmiya le'ozno yatsa. He's Yotzei b'di'avad. Rabbi Yossi omer lo yatsa. Rabbi Yossi says you are not Yotzei even b'di'avad. So what do we see? According to Rav Yossi, if you cannot hear yourself reading, you're not considered reading. So that's why the cheresh, a deaf person, cannot be motzi other people, since his reading is not halachically. We don't recognize it halachically as reading. So you cannot be motzi other people for that, because you're only motzi what you're doing. If you're not reading, how can they be considered like they're reading? So the Mishnah that says that a deaf person who reads the Megillah, you weren't yotzei, even b'di'avad, that is Rav Yossi. Just like in Kriyat Shema, you're not considered, you're not recognized halachically as a reader. So too in the Megillah, you're not recognized halachically as the reader. Ask the Gemara, wait. Omimai de Rabbi Yossi v'di'avad miloi. Dilma, maybe the Mishnah is Rabbi Yudei. V'lechatchila udoloi hodi'avad shapir dami. Maybe the Mishnah is actually Rabbi Yehuda. And when it says that a deaf person, a cheresh, and not yotzei, it's meaning lechatchila. But v'di'avad you're yotzei. Says the Gemara, lo yisak kedaitach. It cannot be that b'diavad it's kosher. Why? The katani, since the cheresh is compared, cheresh do the shota v'katan. It's compared to a shota and a katan. Uma shote v'katan di avad namiloi, just like a shota and a katan, even b'diavad na yotzei, af cheresh di avad namiloi. So obviously the Mishnah is indeed Rav Yossi and b'diavad not yotzei. Ask the Gemara, wait, maybe a cheresh b'diavad is kosher, and a shota and a katan is b'diavad not kosher, and each one has its own designation. So the Mishnah can still be Rav Yehuda, and b'diavad it's kosher, a cheresh. Says the Gemara, no, it cannot be Rav Yehuda. The Mishnah is not Rav Yehuda. Midik Ktani Seifa, since it says at the ending of the Mishnah, Rav Yehuda machshir b'katan. Rav Yehuda says a katan can read the Megillah. Michla derisha lav Rav Yehuda. That means that the Mishnah is not Rav Yehuda. Since it says his name at the end, that means in the beginning it wasn't him. Till now it wasn't him, somebody else. So the Mishnah is Rav Yossi. And a deaf person who reads the Megillah, even b'diavad is not kosher. Says the Gemara, no. V'dilme kulo Rav Yehuda. Maybe the whole Mishnah is Rav Yehuda. Sorry, we don't read these two lines. V'dilme kulo Rav Yehuda. Utrei gavne kotan kotanilo. And there's two kinds of katans. What does that mean? Says the Gemara. V'chasurei michsere. V'hochiktoni. Chasurei michsere. A lot of times the Mishnah we say it is missing something, and we are and it missed and the Tana intentionally missed the point, the key point that we're to teach things in a shorter manner, not in a longer manner. But really, this is the actual Mishnah. So guys, this is the way we're going to read the Mishnah now. Hakol ksherim mikot megillah chutz micheresh shote v'katan. And this is Rav Yehuda. And when it says that a cheresh is pasul, it only means l'chatchila, but the other is kosher. What kind of katan is not kosher? בקטן שהגיע לחינוך, אבל בקטן שהגיע לחינוך אפילו לכתחילה. שרב יהודה מכשיר בקטן, and that's what it means when it says in the Mishnah that Rav Yehuda's machshir b'katan is going to teach you that there is a certain kind of katan that is kosher, a katan that reached the age of chinuch. Rashi says the age of chinuch is 9 or 10 years old. So when the Mishnah earlier said that a katan is not kosher, that's Rav Yehuda speaking, saying that a katan who's 8 years old is pasul. When it says afterwards Rav Yehuda's machshir b'katan that katan's kosher, talking about a 9-year-old and a 10-year-old. So tachas, so who's the Mishnah, guys? Ma'akim de Rav Yehuda, b'diavad. The Mishnah is Rav Yehuda and b'diavad. Ask the Gemara, Ela chodetani Rav Yehuda b'rei Rav Shimon ben Pazi, cheresh medaber v'eno shomea Torah mechatchila, a deaf person who does truma, says the bracha, even though he can't hear himself say the bracha properly, he can do the truma lechatchila. So what do we see, guys? That even if you cannot hear yourself read, you're recognized lechatchila as a reader. And it's kosher. Asking where money, who's the author of this Mishnah? Who says that even if you cannot hear yourself, it's lechatchila? Rav Yehuda, it cannot be Rav Yehuda since Rav Yehuda says it's only kosher b'diavad. And the Mishnah, the Brisa here is saying that it's kosher lechatchila, right? Rav Yossi, and if it's Rav Yossi, then it's of course not kosher. Rav Yossi is mega machmir. Rav Yossi says that it's totally puzzle. So who's the author of this Brisa that says that in Truma? If a guy is deaf and says the bracha, he can't hear himself, it's l'chatchila. It's not Rav Yehuda, it's not Rav Yossi. So who is it? So it must mean that it's really Rav Yehuda. And Rav Yehuda allows you to even if you don't hear yourself, you're l'chatchila recognized as a kosher reader. So tachas, what do we have to see now? That the Mishnah is Rav Yehuda. That the Brisa is Rav Yehuda. That means, guys, that the Mishnah that says that a deaf person who read the Megillah is not kosher, who's that going to be? It's not Rav Yehuda anymore, because Rav Yehuda says that it's even l'chatchila kosher. It's going to be Rav Yossi. Ask the Gemara, Elo hodetanya. We have a third Brisa. Lo yevarech adam birkat hamazon belibo. A guy should not do birkas hamazon in his heart. Belibo. Belibo means that he reads it without kavan. Bim birach yotza. Bim birach yotza. And if he reads it, if he did birkas hamazon, if he read it, he's yotze, right? But diavad. So birkas hamazon, if a guy reads it in his heart, he's not yotze. If he says the words, right, he's yotze. But diavad. So ask the Gemara, wait. If he's the Rav Yehuda holds that it's only kosher lechatchila, that even lechatchila you don't have to hear yourself read the Megillah. Right? So who's this Brisa about Birkas Hamazon? Mani, lo Rav Yehuda, lo Rav Yossi. Rav Yehuda afilu lechatchila. If it's Rav Yehuda, it's going to be it should be allowed lechatchila. Why are we saying that only if he read it then he's yotze? Even if he read it in his heart, it should be yotze. Since you don't require to hear anything, right? So why is the Brisa saying only b'diavad? It should be lechatchila. If it's Rav Yossi, then of course it shouldn't be kosher at all. Rav Yossi is the easiest. Rav Yossi says that if you can't hear yourself reading the Megillah, or anything for that matter, you have no value whatsoever. You're not recognized as a reader. You must bring out the words, otherwise you're not a reader. And hear the words. So, this is what the Mishnah says. Really, Rav Yehuda says, you don't have to hear yourself reading at all. It doesn't matter. And it's lechatchila. So the part that says that in Truma, when the guy is deaf, he gives a Truma, it's lechatchila kosher. That's Rav Yehuda. Now, what do we do with the Brisa that talks about Birkas Hamazon that said that only b'diavad and not lechatchila? When he was quoting the Brisa of Birkas Hamazon, that's indeed Rav Yehuda quoting his rabbi, the Tanya. What is his rabbi's opinion? Rav Yehuda Omer, Mishum Rabbi Nazaria hakoret shema tzarich sheyashmi'a le'ozno. Rav Yehuda says the name of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, which is his rabbi, if you read the Kriyat Shema, you need to hear what you're reading. And it's only lechatchila, not b'diavad you're kosher. Shenemar Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Hashma le'oznecho ma she'ata mutz mipicho. So it's going to be that. So that's why in Birkas Hamazon, Rav Yehuda holds that you need that only b'diavad, because he's following his rabbi's philosophy. What's Rav Yehuda's himself philosophy? What is Rav Yehuda's philosophy? Not his rabbi's. That in lechatchila. Why does it say al levavecha? Achal kavonas halev henen hadvarim. Rav Meir, there's a very special opinion. Rav Meir says that even lechatchila, the words mean nothing. It's all about saying it, well, not the words literally. Hearing it means nothing. Just reading it itself is enough. That's Rav Meir's opinion. Okay, guys, hold on to Rav Meir. Hold on. Mentally put him aside because we're going to use him later. How's the Gemara? We're going to use him right now. Since this is your mahalach, that the Mishnah, our Mishnah is Rav Yossi, and Rav Yehuda holds that, so our Mishnah is Rav Yossi. That's why a deaf person reads the Megillah, you're not Yotzei. Because it's Rav Yossi. Rav Yossi says that if you don't hear yourself reading, you have zero value. The Brisa about Truma, what did we say, guys? Who is that? That's Lechatchila. That's Rav Yehuda. And the Brisa of Birkas Hamazon says, B'diavad no, B'diavad yes, Lechatchila no, is Rav Yehuda, name of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Says the Gemara, Hashad asis la'achi. Afilu tema Rav Yehuda, ki Rabbi Sfirei. Really, you can say that Rav Yehuda follows his rabbi. And b'diavad not lechatchila. Now, what's your question? So, who's the Brisa that speaks about Truma? That says lechatchila. Yehuda Breda Shimon Pazi Rav Meiri. The Brisa that talks about Truma is going to be Rabbi Meir. So now, guys, I want you guys to follow with me the Rashi. We're going to read the Rashi and explain the Rashi. And this is going to summarize the entire sugya for us. Says Rashi. So really, according to Rav Yehuda, you only by the Evid are you Yotzei. If you don't hear yourself reading, lechatchila you're not Yotzei. So basically, to summarize Rashi and the whole sugya here, the Mishnah that says that a Chirish read the Megillah wasn't Yotzei is talking about lechatchila he wasn't Yotzei, but the Evid he was Yotzei. That's the Mishnah. The Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda, and Shitas Rabbi Yehuda la maskana is that b'diavad, if you cannot hear yourself reading, you're Yotzei. So the Mishnah, when it's referring to a Cheresh, it's b'diavad. And it's saying that you're not Yotzei, lechatchila not Yotzei, but b'diavad you are indeed Yotzei. Now, what do we do with the Brisa of Birkas Hamazon? Right? That makes perfect sense. Because it says in the Brisa of Birkas Hamazon that it's b'diavad, that's going to be Rabbi Yehuda. Now the Mishnah that talks about Truma, that it says that lechatchila you can do Truma, even though you can't hear yourself say the bracha, that is not Rabbi Yehuda. Certainly isn't Rav Yossi. It is going to be Shitas Rav Meir. Rav Meir, we just saw in the Brisa of Meir holds that even lechatchila you don't have to hear yourself, and that is Rav Meir. That is the structure of the sugya. This is the end of the masechet Magilla daf Yud Tet.